If you're over 50, let me ask you something. When you walk into your home, do you feel a sense of peace? Do you feel relaxed? Or do you feel a little overwhelmed, like there's a lot you need to deal with? And I ask you this because lately my wife and I have looked around our own home and we've looked at our closets, at drawers, at storage, and we've just got more stuff than we actually want or need at this point in time in our lives. And it's not just taking up physical space, it's taking up mental energy. And here's what's interesting. I came across a couple of articles recently talking about clutter, minimalism, and mental health. And I think it's worth talking about. And just to be clear, these aren't medical research studies, but I'll put the links in the description below if you want to read them yourself. But they're pointing at something that I think is very real and very relevant, especially if you're over 50. Because clutter doesn't just live in our homes, it lives in our minds. In fact, there's research suggesting that when your environment is cluttered, your brain is constantly processing it. Every pile, every drawer becomes a signal that there's something that you need to get done. And over time, that creates a low-level stress response. You might not even notice it consciously, but it's there. In fact, one analysis showed that cluttered environments are associated with higher stress hormone levels, more anxiety. And when you think about it, that makes sense because the brain likes order and clarity. And when it doesn't have that, it has to work harder. Now, here's where this becomes really important for our age demographics, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Unlike new college graduates, we're not starting from zero. As we age, we're carrying decades of accumulation, homes, memories, keepsakes, bicycles, storage units. And at some point in time, it stops feeling like a healthy environment. And it starts feeling like this is a lot to manage. And there's another real side to this as well. One of the articles pointed out that older adults living in cluttered environments are significantly more likely to fall. And that's not trivial because falls as we age can literally change everything. And I've seen tons of people in the ER over the years who got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, tripped on some object on the floor in the dark, and ended up with a head injury, a broken arm, or a scalp laceration. It happens to someone somewhere every single day. So now this isn't just about mental clarity. There's actually a physical safety component to this as well. So this idea of minimalism or simply decluttering our environment isn't just about getting rid of things for the sake of doing so. It's about being intentional and asking the question, does this item or thing deserve space in my life? Does it deserve space in my home? Not just physically, but mentally. Because every object you own has a cost, not just money, but a cost to your attention, your energy, and your decisions. And when you have too many of those things, it creates friction, literally, mentally, and physically. And as we get older, friction matters more and more because as we age, what we give our focus to deserves more discrimination and more intention. And here's where this connects to everything else that we talk about on this channel. We talk a lot about building muscle. Why? Because muscle protects you. It gives you resilience, capacity, and control. But there's another side to the equation as well, and that's removing things that can subtly drain your energy reserves in the background. And clutter is one of them. Now, you certainly don't have to become a minimalist, and I'm not telling you to get rid of everything that you own, and that's not really necessary. But I am saying this, if you're over 50, it's worth asking yourself, what in my life is just taking up space? Are my closets crammed to the brim? Can I barely walk through the garage without tripping? Am I paying rent to store things I've long forgotten about and will never use again? Because simplifying isn't just about having less. It's about making room for what actually matters in your life and no longer allowing what you've accumulated to have ownership over your mind and your awareness. And maybe it's not just about decluttering your house. Maybe it's about easing up a taxing social schedule, getting rid of digital app subscriptions, magazine subscriptions, even entertainment streaming services, and perusing your credit card statements for monthly charges that you no longer need and don't even realize are there. And it reminds me of something else. When I was in college and taking my pre-med classes, my organic chemistry professor was suddenly gone for several weeks. And when he came back, rather than diving into the chemistry lesson for that day, he sat down on a table in front of the class and he told us something that I've never forgotten He said his father had passed away unexpectedly and he hadn't left a will. And he admonished us that whatever we ended up doing as we got older, and certainly if we had kids, was to make sure we had a will and a plan for dealing with what we accumulate throughout our lives. He said it's just not fair to leave your kids to deal with everything you've acquired without some sort of a plan. So I'm going to keep paring things down. I hope you'll consider doing the same. Just like we all want to stay strong, fit, and lean, our environment functions at its best when it stays lean as well. If you haven't watched this video about transformation after 50, it's coming up next. As always, thanks so much for watching, and please share this video with someone you feel would benefit from watching it as well. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.